A lovely good evening to you, our viewers. Welcome on board. This is the Camnet main news this evening. The headlines on our desk. Socialist Party aspiring candidate for CHISAMBA murdered. Civil servants urged to take government debt swap move with caution. ZRA exceeds June target by 48%. In international news, South Africa deploys army in 2 provinces to quell protests. And in sports news, Zambia secures first victory in the ongoing COSAFA Cup Championship. Show me shortly for the details.
Camnet TV offers a wide range of advertising spaces for motion adverts, preaching programs, social media advertising, studio facilities, productions, programs, and documentaries. Grow your business with us at Camnet TV. For advertising space, visit our offices at plot number 396/100, Ibex Hill, Kablonga Road. Call 0962-965-883 or 0979-753-010, or you can email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you for choosing us. The news in detail. The Zambia Ministry of Health has expressed concern over the continued transmission of coronavirus in communities due to low compliance levels to preventive guidelines. Speaking during an update of the coronavirus situation in the country, Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Kennedy Malama says the country's COVID-19 positivity rate is high, largely attributed to community transmission. The country has in the last 24 hours recorded 2,006 positive cases out of 9,021 tests conducted, with each province in the country recording cases. Details in this report.
Zambia's coronavirus positivity rate stands at 22% according to the country's Ministry of Health. This has been a source of concern as most of the transmissions continue to occur within the community through a person-to-person transmission. Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Health in charge of technical services, Dr. Kennedy Malama, speaking during the country's coronavirus update, has announced that 2,600 new cases have been confirmed out of 9,021 tests conducted in the last 24 hours. Dr. Malama also says 37 coronavirus-related deaths have also been recorded in the last 24 hours.
In the last 24 hours, we administered a total of 9,284, that's AstraZeneca doses as dose 1, and 3,874 as dose 2. Our cumulative vaccination to date, therefore, stands at 164,503 for dose 1, and 46,489 dose 2. Countrymen and women. In the last 24 hours as a country, we recorded a total of 2,006 new confirmed COVID-19 cases. This was from a total of 9,021 tests we conducted. This gives us a positivity of 22%, bringing the cumulative number of confirmed cases to date to 178,748. In the last 24 hours as a country, we recorded 37 new COVID-19 deaths, and all these deaths have been classified as due to COVID itself.
He says there is need for community leaders to re-emphasize the need for adherence within their communities.
So this is an indicator that the transmission is out there in the community and the infection continues to spread. So the key to this is just adhering to the public health and social measures which are in place and the directives.
A check by Camnet News around some communities in Lusaka found that most members of the public were not wearing masks, while others were wearing them incorrectly. It remains clear that if the country is to win the fight against the pandemic, citizens need to take individual responsibility in stopping its spread. Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Local Government has denounced statements by some political players that the government has failed to address the coronavirus pandemic in the country. In an interview, Permanent Secretary Matthew Ngolobe says everyone must appreciate the effort being put in place by government because it is doing everything possible to curb the pandemic. He says the current low levels of COVID-19 infections and deaths is an indication that efforts are being made by government.
Government has not failed to curb the pandemic. Most of these measures that you've seen that have been put in place are responsible for the results that you see now. And if you go to any country in the world, those are measures that they've put in place. Those countries that you've seen that have managed to really push back the positivity levels and so forth, those are the measures that they've put in place. But apart from that, there's a sixth golden rule: vaccination. You need to vaccinate, and the vaccines are in the country, people are vaccinating and so forth. I do believe that we're on the right path to fight this disease. They've elapsed today, and we're supposed to make a statement on what is next. But like I said, the fight for this against this disease is we take a multi-sectoral approach, and there are other sectors in the country, like education and indeed a lot of other sectors that we have to look at. Education, they sent officers to make sure they come out with numbers and informed decisions on what should be done. So instead of making these statements one by one, what has been decided and agreed is that we make one statement based on exactly what we've achieved.
Patriotic Front National Mobilization member Bizwa Mutale has advised members of the general public to ensure that they adhere to the COVID-19 health guidelines to protect themselves and the persons next to them. Speaking when he toured Kazimai Market in Lusaka's Mutendere Township, where he distributed personal protective equipment such as face masks and hand sanitizers to marketeers, Mr. Mutale says the compliance levels are not impressive, calling for more. Meanwhile, market chairman and some marketeers spoken to says the gesture should be emulated by all, urging other members of the community to strictly adhere to the health measures and curb the spread of the COVID-19. Densely populated areas such as markets have always been associated with disease outbreaks due to the nature of activities taking place in this COVID era, where many lives have been lost. Relatable to many, calls have been made for concerted efforts by those charged with the responsibility that people should ensure that they adhere to the COVID-19 health measures put in place and help fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Patriotic Front member of the Mobilization Committee, Bizwa Mutale, has advised market traders when he toured Mutendere Kazimai Market to be responsible for their lives, adding that COVID-19 is real.
We do understand that the situation that we are in is a volatile situation and the COVID is real. We are doing the head count of our people to see if they are complying. As you know, we are in a very delicate situation and we want this situation to be under control. As you have seen, the president has been into these markets, I think a few days ago, and we are making sure that at least the footprint continues and the heat continues so that our people can remain and keep safe.
After touring the market, Ms. Mutale expressed disappointment at the casualty being exhibited with regards to COVID-19 adherence measures.
To our people, especially here in Tendere, they are trying, but I could say it's average. People have not really taken this very serious. According to what the current status of COVID in our country, people are not taking this thing very seriously. And, we all have to take responsibility as a community to make sure that people are complying and they adhere to. The more we talk to them, the more we support them, it's sensitizing. People need to adhere to these guidelines. But here, so far, so good. Average, it's getting there.
Meanwhile, market chairman and those trading from Kazimai Market urged other market traders to take care of their lives.
Masks na hand sanitizer tayamikira kwambiri. I'll make sure niza konka alipe mask, make sure afunika kupishiwa bazimberera beka bazimaya pa then nza making sure bonse pogulisa bafunika at least kupasanako distance of 1 meter ziko mugwambiri
ziza chabe palirwako chingiriza chabe because I matenda yaliyo and it's not easy uzitaona madesi yapaka maningi and then tiami kamonga mwamele babwelera kutoka kwa face mask tayami kamaningi ziko.
About 20 boxes of hand sanitizers and masks have been distributed to the market traders at Kazimai Market in Tendere. Reporting for Camnet News in Lusaka. On a sad note, Socialist Party aspiring CHISAMBA Town Council Chairperson candidate Stalon Chove has been murdered and burnt by unknown people in Kapirimposhi district. Central Province Police Commissioner Chola Katanga has confirmed the development to Camnet TV. Mr. Katanga says police who visited the crime scene noticed a cut on the throat of the victim as a sharp instrument is suspected to have been used while spillage of blood was seen around the scene. He adds that the victim is believed to have gone for business in the area where he was murdered and that investigations have been launched. And Socialist Party National Spokesperson Rehoboth Kafwabulula says the victim left his CHISAMBA home for Kawe last week that wondered why his body was later discovered in the bush near Ngweleni village.
It's with very heavy hearts that we wish to convey the news of the death of our comrade and candidate vying for the CHISAMBA Council chairpersonship, that is Comrade Stalon Jube. Our comrade left his home, his CHISAMBA home for Kabwe sometime last week, and along the way he was murdered. His body was burnt. It was found in Kapiri district. Police have started their investigations, and we hope that out of these investigations we'll be able to have a clearer picture as to what exactly happened to our comrade, who the suspects are in this instance, and that whoever is behind this gruesome crime is eventually brought to justice.
Operation Save Movement for Multi-Party Democracy National Secretary Raphael Nakachinda is optimistic that the Electoral Commission of Zambia will completely lift the campaign suspension slapped on the Patriotic Front and the United Party for National Development in Lusaka. He says this is to enable the two parties to physically interact with the people on the ground before the actual polling day. The former Minister of Water Development, Sanitation and Environmental Protection said this in Lusaka morning during a launch of the MMD campaign for the PF and President Lungu in Lusaka province. Mr. Nakachinda says President Edgar Lungu and the Patriotic Front have to retain power on August 12th by 70%. Mr. Nakachinda has called on Zambians to turn up in numbers and vote for the PF.
In Ontario, Kulima election, and as members of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, we have resolved, not only today but in time past, that we're going to campaign and give a vote to President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. My members of MMD, bapitiriza kutitana as leaders. Kutubwerani tikambisane zaseza kwanji my election. Tinaenda ku Eastern Province in numbers, and we provided guidance. Just when we're about to come to Lusaka to be able to interact with you, we had the misfortune of losing a founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. So out of honor and respect for him, Mr.
United Party for National Development Alliance partner Kelvin Fobewalia has alleged that the spike in the country's inflation rate is due to the mismanagement of resources by those entrusted with leadership. Speaking when he appeared on a Camnet TV governance program dubbed The Verdict Monday edition, Mr. Walia alleges that the country's economy is struggling today due to what he terms as over-procurement on government projects and notes the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, an economic analyst, Yusuf Dodia, has however expressed a different opinion, stating that the reason for Zambia's economic struggles is because there has been minimal diversification. Details in this report.
The spike in the country's inflation rate over the past few months has been a source of concern for many stakeholders, as Zambia has a goal of keeping the inflation rate as a single digit. Zambia's annual inflation rate currently stands at 24.6% as of June 2021, according to the Zambia Statistics Agency, ZAMStats. The increase in the cost of living in the country has been a matter of concern in the recent months, as it has worried many citizens. Leader of the Zambia We Want movement and member of the United Party for National Development Alliance, Mr. Kelvin Fubewalia, popularly known as KBF, has alleged that the economic hardships the country is passing through is due to mismanagement of public resources by those in leadership positions. Mr. Walia said this when he appeared on Camnet Television's Verdict program on 12th July 2021. He further dismissed assertions that the country's economic situation is due to the coronavirus pandemic.
It is a very interesting question that you pose, because unfortunately the Zambian economy has been taking a downward spiral. I know some of our political players, especially within the ruling party, have been trying to blame COVID for the economic woes that the nation is facing. I tend to differ. We've been on this downward spiral because, one, of lack of proper leadership, political leadership. Two, mismanagement of our resources. Three, we have been on a corruption spree. Four, we have been on a stealing spree.
Economic analyst Mr. Yusuf Dodia, however, is of the view that Zambia's economic challenges can be owed to limited diversification by the country.
Zambia is not a poor country. If we look outside the domestic economy and look at the economy which is creating wealth for this country, it's copper, it's cement, it's sugar, it's livestock products, it's agriculture products. If we look at how much copper is selling today on the international market, it's above $10,000 a ton. That is not the site of a poor country that is heading into collapse. Make sure that Zambia should prosper. The first thing they would be pushing us is to say, can you make sure that all your export earnings as a nation come into your Zambian banks? That's copper, cement, sugar, livestock products, agriculture, horticulture, aquaculture. All these products, as soon as you get an export permit or an export license to export, ZRA or the Bank of Zambia should be saying, you have exported 100 tons of copper, we want to see 100 tons times $10,000 per ton.
The economic analyst says the country only needs policy redirection in order to attain an economic boost. Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The opposition movement for national transformation says there is need for fairness in the manner the law is being applied to all citizens regardless of political affiliation. Speaking to Camnet TV in an exclusive interview, MNT President Dr. Daniel Shimunza says the law must apply to all citizens, including the president, who is elected among citizens and must be liable. Dr. Shimunza says it was regrettable for the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Lungu, to use his position and gather people as he did when he visited Mtendere Market, among other areas. Dr. Shimunza says the rule of law should be the standard to which everyone should be governed irrespective of position.
In a constitutional democracy, there is no one who is above the law. The Constitution of the Republic is the organic law and mother of all laws in the country. The Public Order Act applies to every citizen. and the president is elected from among citizens. And in a democracy, what you require is fairness in the electoral process. What President Lungu did is unacceptable. To go to Mtendere and have a road show and the public exposed to COVID-19, that is not the way to implement in an election the Public Order Act. And this is where, as opposition political parties, this is where we have said that the police must remain professional. It is sad to hear that the police can give such a position that the president is not accountable to the laws that apply to the Public Order Act and the running mate. What does that give now to the whole electoral process? It means that which other law or which other laws are they going to say they don't subscribe to? It is an unfortunate statement to make, and we condemn it as Movement for National Transformation in the strongest sense.
An non-state actor has cautioned civil servants to take the debt swap as announced by the government with a pinch of salt, as it is allegedly meant to mobilize them for the political benefit of the PF-led government in the forthcoming general elections. Zitokole Consortium believes that in the current state of affairs, the government has no financial capacity to settle the debt that civil servants have with lending institutions. Consortium Executive Director Nicholas Piri notes that there is seemingly erroneous yet deliberate omissions of the civil servants from payroll every month countrywide without proper explanations. He says the PF must address conditions of service, expeditious remittance of the service for civil service money deducted for loan repayment, and more importantly, address the economic environment to support decent livelihoods.
It is important for civil servants to remember that government has been deducting some amounts of money from their salaries every month in order to settle on their behalf with the lending institutions. Unfortunately, we know for a fact, and it is a known fact, that government has not been remitting this money to the financial lending institutions. As a result, the financial lending institutions, especially the banks, have been deducting the money directly from the civil servants' salaries once they hit their accounts. And in many cases, this results into double deduction, whereas PSMD through PEMI could have deducted from the civil servants, and also the banks and other financial institutions, in an effort to recover the money for operational costs, also deduct from the same salary in the same month. This has resulted in, among other things, high interest rate, making the loans expensive for the civil servants because of the default costs that come when you fail to pay.
Zambia's Vice President Inonge Wina says government will no longer import discs but locally produce them, adding that Zambia has plenty of timber for the sector to thrive. Speaking when she addressed civil servants and community leaders in Kaunga-Lweti area of Nalolo district, Mrs. Wina says if local contractors will not have the capacity to implement contracts, they can subcontract others that can help in the implementation. Mrs. Wina was responding to Kaunga-Lweti head teacher Ndiwa Kabati made an appeal to government for assistance for more classroom desks at the school. And the Vice President says civil servants in rural areas have the task to explain to the local people the policies that government is implementing to better their lives so that the local people are not misled by politicians who are in the habit of propagating falsehoods.
Civil servants in a rural district like Luampa, you have a mammoth task. You have a responsibility to interpret to the people government policies, projects and programs, because you understand them better than anyone else. The social cash transfer and all other social protection policies that government has put in place, like the QUELL program, they need to be explained to the people. Why is your government doing this? Why is your government giving free money to people who are in villages or even in town, but they are in a situation that requires that government takes care of them, so that all these issues are understood, because they are being fought by those who do not want to see government succeed.
The Attorney General has submitted before the Lusaka High Court that Joseph Busenga, a Lusaka resident, is not entitled to the reliefs he is claiming. This is in a matter in which Busenga has petitioned the court seeking a declaration that his rights of freedom of conscience were violated when the Constitutional Court, against his will, forced him to litigate a matter where he was seeking an interpretation regarding the President Edgar Lungu's eligibility. However, the Attorney General submitted the Constitutional Court did not compel him to continue prosecuting the action against his will, but merely exercised its discretion under Order X Rule 3 of the Constitutional Rules to avoid discontinuance of the matter.
The matter in which a Lusaka resident, Joseph Busenga, has petitioned the Lusaka High Court seeking a declaration that his rights to freedom of conscience were violated when the Constitutional Court, against his will, forced him to litigate a case where he was seeking an interpretation regarding the Republican President Edgar Lungu's eligibility, continues before court. Busenga in this matter has cited the Attorney General as the respondent. He had submitted that he was compelled to continue with the matter against his will, despite his lawyer making it clear to the court that he was no longer desirous in prosecuting the matter. Among some of the claims seek by Busenga is for the High Court to order that the provision of Order 10, Rule 3 of the Constitutional Court Rules, Statutory Instrument Number 37 of 2016, which purport to confer jurisdiction upon the Constitutional Court to decline an application for leave to discontinue a matter before the court, violates the provision of Article 11, 18, and 19 of the Constitution and are therefore null and void. However, in the latest submission before court, the Attorney General has argued that the Constitutional Court did not force him to prosecute President Edgar Lungu's eligibility case, but the court merely exercised its discretion under Order X, Rule 3 of the Constitutional Court Rules to avoid discontinuance in the matter. Attorney General Likando Kalaluka submits that Busenga has not shown how, by disabling discontinuance of the matter, the Constitutional Court violated his fundamental rights as enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia in Articles 11, 18, and 29. The Attorney General further adds that by not allowing discontinuance of the case, the Constitutional Court did not violate Articles 11, 18, and 19, as read with Article 8 of the Constitution, contrary to Busenga's argument. He further submits that Article 11 merely guarantees fundamental rights in general terms, but the petitioner has not shown which of the rights therein has been violated by the Constitutional Court when it disallowed the discontinuance of the matter under Order X, Rule 3 of the Constitutional Court Rules. Further, that Articles 18 and 19 of the Constitution has been cited out of context to assert that they have been breached by the Constitutional Court by not disabling discontinuance of the matter under Order X Rule of the Constitutional Court Rules. The Attorney General has since told the court that Busenga is not entitled to any of the reliefs he claims. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
In other news, the Lusaka City Council has advised members of the public to desist from placing illegal billboards on unauthorized sites which create blind spots for motorists. Speaking to Camnet TV in an interview, LCC Public Relations Manager Mwaka Nakweti says the authority has noted with concern that some business owners refuse to use proper channels for advertising placements in the city for various reasons, among them dodging fees. And Road Safety Trust Communications Advisor Miles Mwale has advised the business community to be responsible when placing adverts in public places, especially roads, to avoid putting the lives of road users in danger.
The indiscriminate placing of billboards across the city of Lusaka, especially along the sidewalks of the roads, has worried some motorists, as they say the billboards have created blind spots, thereby causing potential accidents. They have therefore called on relevant authorities to take keen interest in the matter. Meanwhile, the Road Safety Trust, through its Road Safety Communications Advisor, Mr. Miles Mwale, has called on business houses, including political parties, to follow the right procedure and place billboards at allocated sites.
And we know that this is a campaign period, and a lot of political parties want that to be known by pasting posters on different places. As ZARIST, we notice with great concerns that political adverts are actually pasted on traffic signs, which allows motorists to communicate with motorists. Therefore, if political adverts are pasted on road signs, definitely those might result into avoidable road traffic crashes. We therefore appeal to all political parties to think about road safety, to put road safety first, because that advert might be an obstruction to motorists, which might lead to death.
The LCC Public Relations Manager Mwaka Nakweti says the authority has equally taken note with concern how some business owners refuse to use proper channels for advertising in order not to pay the fees that come with them, stating that measures will be put in place to ensure that the situation is corrected.
Most of these business houses have been shunning to use proper channels because they are avoiding to pay. However, when they place illegal billboards on the side of the road, this poses a great danger to motorists because some of these billboards create a blind spot. So we would like to urge business houses to ensure that they apply through the office of the town clerk, and then they're going to be allocated space where they can place their billboards.
Liseli Kanyanga Muvanga, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
You're watching Camnet News. Just now we take a break. Stay tuned for more interesting stories.
To you, our dear esteemed customers, as ZAMBIA, we're glad to bring something of excitement to you, and it's a promotion we've dubbed Yatu, which simply means it's yours. And in this promotion, we're giving benefits that are tailored to you specifically as a customer, depending on the profile or the segment that you're sitting on as a customer. And in this promotion, we are saying you will get from as low as 13 ngwe benefits amounting to over 500%. And it's all for you so that you get more benefits. So to know more about Yatu, stay on.
Yatu is a promotion that offers ZAMBIA customers amazing benefits that are made just for you. ZAMBIA customers will get amazing benefits of over 500% bonus back the value that they use when they subscribe to a Yatu offer. Yatu benefits will be usable for ZAMBIA to ZAMBIA calls, ZAMBIA to ZAMBIA SMSs, and browsing on pay-as-you-go defined rates. For you to access the amazing Yatu offers, all you have to do is dial *335# and select option 1 to purchase the offer that best suits you. ZAMBIA customers will have the ability to actually purchase the Yatu benefit more than once. So this means you can purchase the offer twice, you can purchase the offer 3 times, and the benefits will be accumulative at the end of the day. Yatu benefits will be able to be redeemed if you subscribe to the same offer within a 5-day period. So if you have unused benefits from the previous day and the expiry date comes, you can still subscribe to the same offer within 5 days and your benefits will be able to accumulate. How amazing is that? For you to check your Yatu benefit balance, all you have to do is dial *335# and select option 2 and you'll be able to see your current balance.
In this fast-paced era of industrial boom and population growth, there is need to invest in smart ways of managing electricity and water consumption and reducing utility billing costs associated with the postpaid billing system. At Savenda Electronics, we manufacture right here in Zambia different types of high-quality smart electricity and water meters to customer specifications. Savenda Electronics water and electricity meters help you monitor your usage and gives notifications such as low units, tampering, low battery, and many other features. These easy-to-use meters makes it easier to buy units even in these COVID times and top up just from the comfort of your space. Favorable contract terms are available to both electricity and water utilities. For more details, get in touch with us on the following numbers: 0956 580 349 or 0977 498 318. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Lungu and the Patriotic Front have transformed the transportation sector by facilitating the construction of bus stations around the country. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
Camnet TV offers a wide range of advertising spaces for motion adverts, preaching programs, social media advertising, studio facilities, productions, programs, and documentaries. Grow your business with us at Camnet TV. For advertising space, visit our offices at plot number 396/100, Ibex Hill, Kablonga Road. Call 0962 965 883 or 0979 753 010, or you can email us at info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
You're watching Camnet News. Thank you for staying on. We continue with the news. The Zambia Revenue Authority has exceeded its target for June 2021 by over 5 billion by 2 billion, representing 48% of the total amount. Speaking during a donation of assorted items worth 2.1 million kwacha to the Ministry of Health and the University of Zambia, ZRA Commissioner General Kingsley Chanda disclosed this development. Liseli Kanyanga has the details in this report.
Efforts to help curb the COVID-19 pandemic, the Zambia Revenue Authority ZRA has donated assorted items ranging from fridges, television sets, microwaves to the Ministry of Health, worth about 1,500,000 kwacha, and also Ethanol to the University of Zambia, worth about 600,000 kwacha, both totaling 1.2 million kwacha. Speaking during the handover ceremony held in Lusaka, Dr. Kingsley Chanda says the authority understands the pressures that have come with the COVID-19 pandemic, hence its decision to donate to the ministry and UNZA.
Mission. When connected to the internet, the smart TVs will also help health personnel to search and find useful medical information and videos to get updated with health trends. We are also donating 76 upright double and single door fridges to all the facilities, health facilities in Lusaka. These fridges will be used to store various medicines because we realize that with the increased demand for medical attention, more and more medicines are being procured which need to be stored in appropriate environment.
And receiving the items on behalf of the Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary for Technical Services, Dr. Kennedy Malama, says concerted efforts in fighting COVID-19 are much appreciated.
As Commissioner General said, our health workers are our true heroes and heroines in this country. They've been there from day one, not only COVID-19, but in provision of routine health services. So definitely the refrigerators will go a long way. The TVs in ensuring that the working environment for our workers is enhanced, including the microwave. But as you rightly said, the refrigerators are good for us because storage of medicines is key so that within the point of service delivery, we can provide drugs which are appropriate to our people.
Equally receiving the donation on behalf of the University of Zambia, the institution's Vice-Chancellor Luke Mumba took the opportunity to advertise the initiative to commercialize the full-body sanitizer that the institution created.
I'd like to assure you that my management will ensure that this is put to good use. It also assists us in the areas where we have developed interventions in fighting COVID. We've developed a full body sanitizer and also most recently a ventilator. But with regards to ethanol, we'll use it in the full body sanitizers.
It was at this very occasion that Dr. Chanda revealed that the authority has exceeded its target for June 2021.
I'm glad to announce that despite the negative pressures caused by the COVID-19 pandemic on revenue collection, the Zambia Revenue Authority exceeded its June 2021 target of 5.9 billion by 2.8 billion or 48%. For the period January to June 2021, the authority collected 45 billion in gross taxes from January to June, while the refunds stood at 5.1 billion. This translates into a net tax outstanding of 40.2 billion against the period target of 30 billion.
Liseli Kanyanga Muvanga, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
The Poultry Association of Zambia has attributed the hike in price of day-old chicks to the depreciation of the Zambian kwacha against other major currencies. Speaking to Camnet TV in a telephone interview, Association Chairperson Veronica Machungwa says the current economic environment in Zambia has been negatively impacting the cost of doing business. Ms. Machungwa also says the depreciation of the kwacha has been prompting neighboring countries to look into Zambia as an alternative source of cheap birds. And Rose Breeders Zambia Limited has announced that it will increase its price for day-old chicks to 16 kwacha from 14 kwacha per bird, effective 19th July 2021.
We must be in touch with reality. Everything happens in the context of the environment in which you are living. We are in an environment where, and everything we do is so related to the dollar. When the dollar was five kwacha to $1, the chickens were about 3-4 kwacha. The dollar is 22, so we don't expect them to stay stagnant. I also notice, I think there's an element of there's a greater demand than there is supply. So because of that, I think the demand issue being higher than the supply, the price is going up, as would happen in any commodity whose demand outstrips supply. The price will always go up. We have more people demanding for chickens than there is supply. So I think that too is affecting it.
In other news, some sweet potato sellers in Lusaka have expressed concern over the rise in the purchase of the commodity, a trigger that has affected their businesses. Camnet TV spoke to some of the traders in Lusaka's Libala area, who say the sharp spike in the price of the commodity has resulted in people shunning to buy and resulting in the disruption of income for their families. Details in this.
The cost of living has been on the rise, and many people in various localities are having a tough time to buy basic commodities. The cost of bread is beyond the reach of many vulnerable households, but in view of that, the governing Patriotic Front has been advising the people to seek the alternative in form of sweet potatoes, locally known as kandolo. But nothing seems cheap anymore, as the same sweet potatoes in Lusaka is equally becoming expensive. I spoke to some sweet potato sellers in Lusaka who expressed concern over the rising price of the commodity.
Na kudala 25 kgs wenzogula na ma 30 kwacha 40 kwacha 50 kwacha, but this year kulipe kandolo ya 50 kwacha ukapeza kandolo ya 50 kwacha nishinija yola mkati lipe mutu so kandolo manje ka 25 titenga pa 85 then ija ikulu ngati yankala na mutu bino ni ma 230 nena mwachita ma 250 ukapeza ya 200 nishimkati nija kutisiri mwishe nyola.
They say people are reluctant to buy owing to the high cost of the commodity. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka. Plan International Zambia has called on government to put up deliberate measures
that will ensure the country achieves its 2030 agenda of attaining gender equality. In an interview with Camnet TV, Plan International Zambia Programs Manager Belinda Mautu says the coronavirus has negatively affected women and girls, hence widening the gender gap. She explains that many women have been robbed of their income as the informal sector, where most of them conduct businesses, has been badly hit by the coronavirus, necessitating the closure of some businesses.
With most health systems around the world being burdened by the coronavirus, home care has become a preferred option. This, however, means that many women and girls around the world now have to spend more time caring for the sick, hence leading to them having less time for other productive activities. The coming of the coronavirus pandemic has also disadvantaged women and girls in other ways, as the informal sector, where women are mostly found, has seen the closure of some businesses, hence reducing their income. Frequent school closures have also disadvantaged girls, as some parents, mostly those in rural areas, have married off their girls in exchange for bride price amidst harsh economic conditions. Plan International Zambia Programs Manager Belinda Mautu has called on government to put up deliberate policies meant to address the gender disparities that the coronavirus has brought. She told this to Camnet News in an interview.
And though we recognize that mortality rates are higher in men in some contexts, the pandemic also poses greater effects on women, particularly that they have the burden of care. So in a home, when someone is affected by COVID, it's obviously expected that the mother or the sister in that home will be then taking care of the people that are unwell in that home. And therefore they have a higher risk of infection, but also the need for psychosocial support. So we also notice some of the impacts in terms of gender in the economic sphere. Like we've said, the increasing burden of unpaid care work, which disproportionately affects women, the need for women's employment in the informal sector. We've seen a lot of small businesses closing, and if you notice in Zambia, the majority of the workers in the informal sector are women. And also, the Plan International Zambia carried out a rapid gender analysis just at the beginning of the pandemic. And really, what we found out was that with the closure of the schools, those were made more vulnerable.
Ms. Mautu also says traditional leaders should enhance efforts aimed at fighting gender equality within their chiefdoms.
So they are very, very important. We can't take away the mandate. They play a very good role. And one thing we have learned as Plan is that they are very accommodating to the processes and the policies, and they are very open-minded, and I think we should continue to engage them. And where we have engaged them, we have seen very positive results coming from traditional leaders.
Zambia, along with other United Nations member countries in 2015, signed up to Sustainable Development Goals, which are to be achieved by 2030. Goal number 5 seeks to eliminate gender discrimination against women and girls in all its forms by the set deadline. Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Young Women Christian Association, YWCA, has recorded 13,000 gender-based violence cases in the last quarter, which includes different domestic and gender-based violence. Speaking to Camnet TV in an exclusive interview, Organization Executive Director Miriam Mwinga says that some of the cases the institution deals with are child neglect, sexual assault and defilement of children, among others.
Gender-based violence has in a long time remained a problem. In the first quarter of 2021, 4,254 cases of gender-based violence were reported countrywide. This is despite the government and other stakeholders putting in place interventions to curb the vice. Even though the country has various legislations aimed at combating the vice, such as the Gender-Based Violence Act (GBV), cases have continued to be recorded across the country. The Young Women Christian Association Acting Executive Director Miriam Mwinga says the fight against GBV must be targeted on both men and women.
So when you look at the period of 2020, we had over 13,000 cases of GBV that were reported in our various drop-in centers across the country. Most of the cases that were reported had to do with child neglect, sexual violence, physical violence, as well as economic violence. We also had quite a number of cases to do with child marriage as well as defilement of children. So in our different drop-in centers, our volunteers who offer psychosocial counseling did provide the necessary services to all the members of the public that sought such services.
Ms. Mwenga has also disclosed that the institution has continued to provide shelter to victims of violence.
Quite a number of men as well who reported cases of GBV in our drop-in centers. So in totality, I think on an annual basis, we receive like a quarter of all the cases coming from men. So in other words, we are saying that the reported cases by men is still low compared to the number of cases that are reported by women.
Ms. Mwenga also said YWCA has continued to champion the formulating and implementation of interventions to eliminate gender-based violence discrimination as a strategy towards creating more equal societies. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
You're still watching Camnet News. We take another set of commercials. Join me shortly for international and sports news.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962 642 490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Kumbula International Airport, located just 15 kilometers from the Victoria Falls, is now one of the best and busiest airports that Zambia has. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
At Master Signs, our services range from outdoor, indoor signage such as billboards, banners, 3D light boxes, pylons, and neon signs. We are located at plot number 397A, Makeni Road, Lusaka, at Oryx Filling Station. For more details, call us on +260 967 100 090 or +260 966 999 981, or better still, email us at infomastersign@gmail.com. Master Sign, we will make it shine.
Camnet TV offers a wide range of advertising spaces, promotion adverts, preaching programs, social media advertising, studio facilities, productions, programs, and documentaries. Grow your business with us at Camnet TV. For advertising space, visit our offices at plot number 396/100, Ibex Hill, Kablonga Road. Call 0962 965 883 or 0979 753 010, or you can email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. In international news, South Africa's military has been deployed after protests against the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma turned violent. At least 6 people have been killed and hundreds arrested in Zuma's home province of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng province. Zuma is in prison for refusing to obey court orders to appear before a panel of investigating corruption during his time of office. In other news, 50 people have died and dozens injured after a fire raised a COVID-19 ward in the southern Iraq city of Nasiriyah. It is the second blaze to sweep through a coronavirus unit in 3 months and has angered many of the city's residents. The fire broke out at Al Hussein Hospital late Monday as civil defense teams fought to control it. Here is a roundup of international stories.
After 4 days of rioting, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa appeared on television appealing for calm.
Although these may be opportunistic acts of looting driven by hardship and poverty, the poor and the marginalized bear the ultimate brunt of the destruction that is currently underway. As I said, shops have been looted and infrastructure has been destroyed.
The violence was sparked by the imprisonment of former President Jacob Zuma. He's been jailed for 15 months for contempt of court after not complying with an inquiry into corruption. He's applied to the Constitutional Court to review the sentence it imposed, saying it's unconstitutional. Many of Zuma's supporters say he's been jailed unfairly, and they've taken to the streets to voice their anger. But the government says what began as support for Zuma in the KwaZulu-Natal province is now being driven by crime. At this mall in Soweto, south of Johannesburg, police are powerless as thousands of people descend, grabbing whatever they can.
Many of these stores have been ransacked, and the police that we've spoken to here have said they simply don't have enough resources. In fact, they've been pushed back by these looters, some of them stationed within the car park. As soon as any of the looters are apprehended by police, rocks are thrown and police have to leave.
At least 6 people have been killed and more than 500 arrested. The unrest has caused public services in some areas to be suspended, including COVID-19 vaccination programs. And now the military is being sent in to help overwhelmed police. It's not certain how long the army will have to be deployed, but there are concerns that a high unemployment rate worsened by a strict COVID-19 lockdown is contributing to the violence. And while boots on the ground may quell violence for now, South Africa's economic and political problems may run far deeper.
Thousands of recruits want to join the unified security forces planned for South Sudan. Majok Chow used to be a child soldier. With the help of the United Nations, he went to the United States to study. Now in his 40s, he's back home to help rebuild his country.
And all the South Sudanese can come together and fix the country. No one will fix for them, and it is necessary for the war to cease, and let us follow the route of peace.
But many like Majok spent more than a year in these camps. They still haven't graduated.
The delay in graduation is partly because of financial constraints. Add to that the poor conditions in the training centers. Soldiers sometimes say there's not enough food, medicines, and they still don't have proper uniforms.
It's made integrating opposition and government forces more challenging.
We have lost 62 trainees. They died in this training center alone, in Rajaf alone. I don't know how many are dying in different training centers. So this is a big number. It's like in the army, it is 2 platoons that have died in one training center.
South Sudan is also under an arms embargo for alleged human rights abuses committed during several years of conflict.
You have given us arms embargo, and you want us at the same time to form a unified army with people being trained. Where do we get the guns to give them if we can't even buy a pistol? That's a challenge, but we are understanding with our partners. They've got their own interests that they would like to see reflected in this country.
The Transitional Unity Government, formed last year, saw President Salva Kiir again trying to work with former rebel leader Riek Machar, who's now the first vice president. On paper, the two politicians have agreed to combine their individual armies and loyalists into one.
But African can help us set up an army, technical basis, and not set up by politicians. Do you know what politicians are? See, they are selfish. That is why a work like this is left for technicians. It is not left for politicians to make the army. Who are they?
Even if other African countries have to do more to help South Sudan set up the army, huge challenges still lie ahead. The sooner these recruits unite and graduate, the sooner they can possibly work on bringing peace and stability to this war-torn country.
Lifeless bodies cover the floor in this hospital ward in the Iraqi city of Nasiriyah. Most of the victims had COVID-19, but it was a fire that killed them. Relatives are now faced with the grim task of identifying their loved ones. Moments before, this was the scene. Emergency crews tackled the fire as it ripped through the building. Amid chaos, families desperately tried to find survivors.
What happened tonight at the Hussein Hospital is a catastrophe. It's a tragedy that's left me speechless. It's as though Iraq has to suffer anguish and calamities.
Desperation turned to anger. At least 2 police vehicles were torched by furious protesters. They say the government's mismanagement and neglect of medical facilities are to blame. It's the second time this year a large fire has killed coronavirus patients. At least 82 people died in a Baghdad hospital in April when an oxygen tank exploded and sparked a blaze. Some analysts say not much has changed since.
Politicians they know that they need to blame corruption, and they're going, rhetorically, they'll come out and say this is all bad. But their actions rarely go with their words. They will continue, and that's why, sadly, this is not the last time we're going to see Iraqis dying because of the decisions made by their political leaders.
The hospital ward opened 3 months ago to help curb a surge of coronavirus infections. But the fire raises questions about Iraq's fragile health system. And these families say they deserve answers and accountability. Katia Lopez-Alayan, Al Jazeera.
We now look at sports news. The Zambia national team has won its first match in the ongoing COSAFA Cup by beating Botswana by 2-1. Justin Shonga was named man of the match after scoring a brace. Zambia's next encounter will be against group leaders South Africa. Zambia lost the previous games against Lesotho and Eswatini, respectively. We wish them luck when next they have an encounter. That note ends our news this evening. The headlines once again. Socialist Party aspiring candidate for CHISAMBA murdered. Civil servants urged to take government date swap move with caution. ZRA exceeds June target by 48%. In international news, South Africa deploys army in 2 provinces to quell protests. Zambia secures first victory in the ongoing COSAFA Cup Championships. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, and it's coming from Psalms 139, verse 23 to 24, and it reads, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my concerns. See if there is any offensive way in me. Lead me in the everlasting way." Well, that's all I had for you on the desk this evening. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbula. Good night, and ensure that you observe the COVID-19 health measures put in place.